It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, but it really happened. One quiet morning in a small town lost in the middle of nowhere, people started falling asleep, not tired, not drowsy, not sick. They simply collapsed on benches, at work, in the street, mid-conversation, and they wouldn't wake up. Minutes passed, then hours, then an entire day, and still nothing. Doctors couldn't explain it. The government couldn't explain it. Even today, nobody truly can, because for 6 long days, an entire town just slept. So the question is simple: what really happened there, and could it happen again? The place was small, the kind of town most maps barely show. A few thousand people, one hospital, one school, a handful of grocery stores, quiet roads, cold winters. Nothing special, nothing mysterious, just an ordinary community living an ordinary life. Until the morning everything changed. It started with a bus driver. He had just begun his route. Same road he drove every day for years, same passengers, same schedule, nothing unusual, at least, at first. Then, while talking to one of the regulars, he suddenly stopped mid-sentence. His eyes blinked slowly. He tried to speak again, but the words didn't come out. His hands slipped from the wheel. The bus rolled gently to the side of the road, and the driver slumped forward, fast asleep. Passengers thought he had fainted. They rushed to help, but then something strange happened. One by one, they started yawning. Not normal yawns, deep, uncontrollable ones, like their bodies were shutting down. Within minutes, half the bus was asleep too, right there in their seats, heads resting against the windows, like a strange, silent domino effect. At almost the same time, a teacher at the local school felt dizzy while writing on the board. She thought maybe she skipped breakfast. She sat down, closed her eyes for just a second. She didn't wake up for 2 days. Her students watched in confusion, then panic, and then something terrifying. 3 students at the front row fell asleep too. Then 5 more. Then almost the entire class. Desks filled with sleeping children, like a scene frozen in time. Calls flooded the hospital, people collapsing everywhere. Shops, homes, offices, the local police station, even nurses, even doctors. They all reported the same thing: extreme, sudden sleep. No warning, no pain, just shut down, as if someone pressed an invisible switch. By noon, nearly 20% of the town was unconscious, not dead, not in a coma, just deeply asleep and impossible to wake. Families tried everything: cold water, slapping their cheeks, shouting their names. Nothing worked. It was like their brains had simply disconnected. Doctors ran tests: heart rate, normal; breathing, normal; brain activity, strangely calm, but stable. No trauma, no infection, no poison detected, nothing. It didn't make sense. It wasn't any known illness. It wasn't narcolepsy. It wasn't carbon monoxide. It wasn't food poisoning. It wasn't drugs. It wasn't anything in medical history. It was something new, something unknown. By nightfall, the town looked like a ghost movie. Lights still on. Cars stopped in the middle of streets, meals half-eaten on tables, and people sleeping everywhere. On sidewalks, in parks, inside stores. Like time had frozen, like life had been paused. The government arrived the next morning. Hazmat suits, ambulances, military vehicles. The entire area was quarantined. No one allowed in, no one allowed out. News helicopters circled above. Reporters called it the sleeping town. Scientists searched for answers. Air samples, water samples, soil samples, food testing. Nothing unusual. No toxins, no gas leaks, no radiation, no chemical weapons, nothing. It was as if sleep itself had become contagious. Then something even stranger happened. Some people woke up after exactly 24 hours. They felt fine, just confused, like they had taken a long nap. No memory of collapsing, no headache, no weakness, nothing, perfectly normal. Doctors questioned them. Did you feel sick before? No. Did you smell something strange? No. Did you eat anything unusual? No. Every answer was the same. Nothing different, nothing special, just an ordinary day, and then darkness. But not everyone woke up. Some slept for 2 days, some for 3, some for 5, and a few A full 6 days. Completely unconscious, without food, without water, yet somehow still alive, which medically shouldn't have been possible. Their bodies should have weakened, dehydrated, collapsed, but they didn't. It was like their metabolism had slowed to almost zero, like hibernation, like animals during winter, except humans don't do that. At least, we're not supposed to. That's when theories started spreading, and some of them were terrifying. Theory number 1, environmental poisoning. Maybe a gas leak no one could detect, something natural, something rare, maybe underground chemicals released by accident, but after months of testing, nothing. The air was clean, cleaner than most cities, so that explanation died quickly. Theory number 2, a virus, something new, something unknown, maybe attacking the brain, forcing sleep. But blood tests showed no infection, no antibodies, no inflammation, nothing. The bodies were perfectly healthy, too healthy. Theory number 3, psychological, mass hysteria, a kind of collective panic response, but that didn't explain children or animals. Yes, even pets were affected, dogs, cats, even birds, falling asleep. So this wasn't mental, it was biological, something real. Then came the strangest theory of all, and the one nobody wanted to talk about publicly, but everyone whispered about privately because it sounded insane, but also weirdly possible. Some locals reported something odd the night before it happened, a low humming sound, barely audible, like distant machinery, or like a deep vibration underground. Others described strange lights in the sky, not planes, not drones, just glowing shapes moving silently and then disappearing. No photos, no videos, just witnesses, but dozens of them. One elderly man said his windows shook around 3 a.m. like a low-frequency tremor, but there was no earthquake, no storm, nothing on weather reports, just a hum, a deep, uncomfortable hum, then silence. Then the next morning, people started falling asleep. Some researchers later connected this to something called infrasound, extremely low frequencies humans can't consciously hear, but that can affect the body, causing nausea, dizziness, fear, even hallucinations, and possibly disruption of brain activity. Could a natural underground vibration have triggered mass sleep? It sounded crazy, but not impossible, except no equipment detected anything, no sensors recorded abnormal waves, nothing. Again, nothing. And then there were the conspiracy theorists. They believed something else entirely, something darker. They said the government wasn't investigating. They were covering something up, some kind of experiment, maybe military, maybe neurological, maybe testing a sleep-inducing technology, a weapon that could disable populations without killing them. Imagine that, a bomb that makes entire cities fall asleep. No resistance, no fight, just silence, terrifying, and useful, too useful. But there was no proof, only suspicion and fear. Years later, scientists still can't explain it. The case was quietly closed. Official cause, unknown environmental anomaly, which basically means we have no idea. The town slowly returned to normal. People went back to work, back to school, back to life. But something changed, something invisible. They never felt completely safe again. Because when you've seen your entire community collapse overnight, you realize something terrifying. Control is an illusion. At any moment, your body could just stop listening to you. Today, the town still exists, small, quiet, peaceful, but older residents still remember. They call it the long sleep. Some even say, every year around the same date, they feel a strange heaviness, like their body's trying to shut down again, like something calling them back to sleep. But maybe that's just imagination. Or maybe it isn't. Because here's the part that almost nobody talks about. Similar events happened elsewhere, smaller, less documented. A factory where 12 workers suddenly slept for hours. A remote village where half the population collapsed for a day. A research station where scientists reported uncontrollable fatigue all at once. All unexplained, all quietly forgotten, but strangely similar, too similar to be coincidence. So maybe the question isn't, what happened that day? Maybe the real question is this still happening? Somewhere right now, a town you've never heard of, a place too small for the news, where people are falling asleep for no reason, and nobody knows why. Because science doesn't like mysteries. But sometimes, mysteries don't care about science. And sometimes, the scariest thing isn't monsters, or ghosts, or aliens. It's something much simpler, something inside your own brain, something that can switch you off, like a light, without warning, without explanation, without permission. So tonight, when you feel tired, when your eyes close, when you drift into sleep, just remember, for most of human history, sleep has been something we choose. But what if one day, it chooses you, and you don't wake up tomorrow, or the day after, or the next? Would anyone know why? Or would you just become another unsolved mystery? And maybe, just maybe, somewhere out there, another town is already waiting for the moment. Everyone falls asleep at the same time, again. So what do you think really happened? Natural phenomenon, unknown virus, secret experiment, or something even stranger? Let me know what you believe. Because honestly, even after all these years, nobody truly knows. And that might be the creepiest part of all.